So we are here at the Alive Festival 2016 in Atwood Lake, you said, honey?
Mm-hmm.
Atwood Lake, Ohio. And the campsites do not have direct water hookup. They're between 50 and 100 feet away to fill your holding tanks. So what a time to have an issue with my water pump. I can hear it cutting in and out. I can see the interior lights actually flickering as it's turning on, and so I'm gonna check it out. I don't know that I'd be able to fix it. It has all the symptoms of a failing motor, but I need to make sure that my powers and grounds are good to that thing before I make that call. A few observations. One was the lights and the way that they flicker is suggesting a pretty decent amount of current flow. So judging by that alone, I think my wiring is probably fine and my pump is failing. But you know, we could have a wiring issue that's making and breaking a contact and causing that, because when an electric motor, a 12-volt DC electric motor first starts, there's a heavy amount of current. So as that motor is clicking on and off, that is potentially causing that. That's just the hot water tank. So yeah, I'm gonna bring you with me. I don't know how this is gonna go. We're you know, basically out in the field, and we're gonna try to do a field repair. So let's see what happens. First thing I have to do, I have to locate it. Well, I can see some plumbing right underneath here, and I'm pretty sure that I take this access cover off. That's where my pump is. See if I can show you guys what this is doing. I'll turn my outside shower on and see if I can show you. It's actually better than what it was. I'll get you closer to the pump so you can hear it. I think that pump's right underneath here, so listen to it again. Alright, so let's pull this panel. How sweet is that? That pump is right there. That just made my life so much easier. And of course, we have some definite Mickey Mouse wiring. And I say that because you got two connections here, male-female terminals, and then you have, so this is an area that we can have connection issues, and then you have your main power and ground coming in here, and two, you know, the barrel style connector. So you have potential for a voltage drop here, potential for a voltage drop here, and then that's going into the back of the motor. Looks like there's maybe the pressure switch is up here. So I'm just kind of looking at this. The ground goes directly to the motor. Let's get you guys some light on that. So follow the ground, that goes directly to the motor. The power feed comes in, goes over and splits to some type of switch. I imagine that this is actually the pressure switch that's built into the motor itself, okay? And then that's going to feed the motor circuit. So we could actually have a switch problem too. I'll let you guys hear it again as I'm opening the valve. Alright, so what we're going to do first is, you know, if the motor's actually failing, what we should have is we should have a constant 12 and a constant ground on these two wires right here in this location. If I find that either one of these two are dropping out while this motor is clicking on and off, then that suggests that we have a connection issue or a switch issue up here, and so we'll kind of backtrack. And actually just me wiggling on that too. Yeah, this might end up being a switch issue here, guys, or a connection. It'd be awesome if it's a connection problem. I think the pressure switch, I believe that's what this is. Looks like it's part of the assembly. It might be something I can clean. My fear though, guys, is being where we are right now. At least I'm partially working, and if I mess with this too much, I could really make it where it doesn't work at all. So I got to be careful with what I'm doing. Let's get some voltage measurements. Okay, so a little different than our cars here, guys. When you're working on an RV, the ground of the system, especially for the cabin area, is not grounded to the frame. So I'm used to connecting my multimeter to the ground of anything on the chassis of the car. This is not like this, so I really needed to go to the battery, and these are connected in parallel. They're not in series, so it's two 12-volt batteries in parallel, which is just giving me a larger reserve capacity. And so you see positive, positive, negative, negative. So my 12-volt circuit is, yeah, it's still 12 regardless. So I'm connecting my I'm actually using the power probe because I have a really long lead for it. I'm glad I brought it. So positive, negative on one of my batteries. You know, I can put my negative over there too. It doesn't matter. As long as I'm connected to one of the positives and one of the negatives, I can do it that way. And then my wire for my power probe 4, I'm running it underneath, behind the coach. Super happy I have this right now. You guys have no idea. And there is my power probe 4. So looking at this before I brought out my tools, I was thinking about checking my power and ground here. And so if I was on a car, what I would do is I'd connect to a known good ground, maybe the frame or body of this as my ground, and then I'd check my ground to ground, doing a voltage drop measurement, and then I'd check my positive to ground voltage drop, again loaded circuit, motor running, and make my determination of where my problem was. In this case, because there's no ground anywhere except for this, I would need to connect my multimeter from my negative lead would go to here, and my positive lead would go to here, and then I'm comparing a difference between the two. Any dropout in the signal could be the result of either wire. So there's a lot of voltage theory that goes into this, and what I'll do for those of you that maybe need a little refresher, I'll put a link in the description of this video to another one that I did, and the title of that video is called Multimeter Basics, or I titled it Voltage Testing Fundamentals. One of those two. Anyway, check for that link. It'll be in the description of this video, and it'll give you guys a little bit, or get you up to speed a little bit about the type of testing that I'm about to do. So I got my son Beau here, who's helping me, who just went and got the rest of my tools for me. Say hi to everyone. Hi, everyone. Beau has done a couple videos with me in the past, and he's been a big help. And so Beau likes to learn, and he's helping Dad troubleshoot the electric motor, the pump, Beau, the water pump. We're gonna troubleshoot it together, okay? Okay. The cool thing about this, buddy, this is just like working on cars. If you can fix a car, you can fix anything. Did you know that? Yeah.
It's basically working on a car on steroids.
It's working on a car on steroids. Yeah, this thing is definitely something that is on steroids, that's for sure. Okay guys, the tool that I'm using, and I'm doing this intentionally because I want to measure behind these connectors. I think where I'll start, you know, I'll just start right on this feed wire. It's a hook tool that actually pokes a small hole in the wire, and of course I'll seal these up when I'm done. You know, this is not really an area that gets moisture anyway, You know, look at these barrel connectors that are wide open. I'm not going to hurt anything by poking a small hole in this wire. That's the plan. That's going to help me determine where my problem is.
How come that area doesn't get much moisture, but like...
Oh, that's a good question.
This is all here.
All in here, Beau, this is not exposed to weather. So even though we have some water leaking and dripping out of there, as Beau was just asking me, that's my freshwater inlet. None of that is actually getting over into here, Beau. Okay? So these wires are not really exposed to the elements, and I should be in there now. Let's get our power probe attached to that. For those of you that don't have a tool like this, just a regular multimeter would work. And the reason that I'm using this tool over a regular multimeter in this application is because of the really long cable that I can go directly to the battery. It was important to me to get to the battery, and so if you guys are using a regular multimeter, you're going to have to run some jumper wires to be able to connect to the battery and do the type of testing that I'm about to do. Now there are alternatives. You know, we can go right between, I can go right between the power and ground up here, okay? And if I read 12 volts constantly while that pump is surging, then your wiring is fine. You need a pump motor. But if it drops out and that signal changes on you, it's going to be difficult to identify which side of the circuit it's on, and that's the reason I'm going this direction. So the next thing I'll have Beau do for me is, let's get this stuff out of the way, buddy, so we don't get it wet. I'm gonna have you take this and just squirt it over there like that. Okay? And then watch this meter here. Stand up so you can see can you see the voltmeter? Keep holding it. The voltage is all over the place. Yeah, we got a drop. Actually, so you see the min-max function of this tool, guys. Watch that min-max number. That's basically 0 volts at a min. There's 12.9, 12.2. That's what we want to have. That's good. That's what you want to see. Of course, it'd be working fine now. Keep holding that. Nice. Nice. You see our drops too.
I can feel that in the hose.
Our issue's right here.
Yeah, it's going down.
Keep holding it, bud. That's awesome, though. We are totally going to be able to fix this. I'm going to tighten these terminals up. I hope. You know, the other thing. All right, you can let off. All right, no reason to get too crazy here, guys. You saw I was able to recreate the fault doing this and moving the switch connector, pressure switch. I want to be clear about something. I was mentioning the low voltage we are seeing here. You see the minimum of, that's minus 36. There's going to be voltage spikes here whenever you have a DC electric motor turning on and off. Now to be clear about the operation of this pump, whenever the pump is regulating, it does at times turn on and off, and that's from this switch. This pressure switch is going to do that work. So when that happens, it would be normal to have a voltage drop on the feed wire because that's what the switch does. But while the pressure was very low and it was surging, it should not have been doing that. And what I now know is that surging we were seeing was coming from an interruption in the power supply where it shouldn't be doing that. With low water pressure, that switch over here should maintain a closed position. We should send direct 12 volts to the motor all the time, And with low water pressure, that's not what we were seeing. I was having low voltage here. This is not a bad pump. It's not a bad pump. And my only fear at this point is when you have issues like this, where, here, Beau, do me a favor and run that again. Spray that over there. Good. Watch. Okay, good. That's good, Beau, let go. When you have issues like this, let's disconnect this wire. What ends up happening, guys, is even though that's annoying. Even though I'm stressing and pushing on these pins, it looks like a bad connection there. It actually very well could be the contact inside of this pressure switch. That when I'm pushing on the terminal ends, I'm actually moving and stressing the male pin that's inside of that. And so the only way that I'm going to be able to determine that is I have to unplug this and then check my connectors real close. All right, so let's start with this one. You just stay here with me, okay, Beau? Yeah. Some of this part's difficult for my son to understand, and I'm sure even for some of you guys, this part can be difficult, but first thing I'm gonna do is unplug this one. And just kind of looking at the terminal. Sometimes, honestly, just unplugging and plugging back in can get you by for a while. There's really nothing wrong with the terminal. So we could have had corrosion on the pin. I'll plug this back in. All right, Beau, can you hit that for me again? Go ahead, buddy. Yeah. Awesome. All right, let go. It is night and day different. So we got some crud. Can't. That's okay. There's not really any crud on that. At least not that I can see in this little 2-inch camera screen. Let me look at that connector again. There's a little bit of something in the corner of that. Nothing crazy. The right corner of that, there is a little bit of cruddies, but the terminal itself looks okay. I think this is one of those things where I'm just going to unplug it and plug it back in a couple of times. You know, this pump's been sitting here since 2001. This is a 2001 year coach, so it's, you know, 15-year-old coach, 15-year-old connections. Not too bad.
What are crusties?
Crusties, just corrosion, crud. All right, I'm gonna try it. Hold that in for me, bud. I'm going to wiggle it. Absolutely. A connection issue. Keep holding it, bud. I am absolutely happy about that. Okay, good. The last part of that's normal, and the way this system works and operates, it's getting everything up to the right pressure. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to show you the voltmeter one more time. Okay, so what I'll do, again, a nice feature of this tool is this really fast min-max scale. I don't know what the specifics are on this and how fast it catches a glitch, but I do know that this same tool can be used to catch an inductive kick, say on a fuel injector, and that being the case, I'm pretty confident it's pretty fast. Okay, right now we're at 0 volts. Go ahead and hit that, Beau. Let's reset it. This is what we want to see whenever the water's being sprayed. My boy who's helping me out here, just keep spraying it, Beau. Thank you. See the steady voltage the whole time. All right, now go ahead and let off, Beau. All right, so you see this side dropping down to 0 volts, and we have a minus 22 in that case, and that's just from the motor turning on and off. You're going to have electric surges, you're going to have voltage spikes, okay? It is normal when you're troubleshooting this on the feed side to see at times this voltage drop to 0. All of your controls are done on the feed side of this circuit. There's a constant ground, and this motor is something that I would call a power side switched circuit. So it's pretty complex, this power ground side switching I just mentioned. I'll place some other videos that I've done where you guys can watch some more on determining power ground side switching, how the controls work. They'll be in the description of this video. Again, make sure you look for that. In our case, our circuit is controlled on the power side just with a pressure switch, okay? And that shouldn't do that. With me touching that, we still have a little bit of a connection issue. I'm probably gonna unplug these and plug them back in a couple more times. But the controls are on the power side. The ground is there all the time. This is not a bad pump. This was absolutely a switch issue. And again, it's normal to have that voltage drop while it's being controlled with pressure, but not, hold this in one more time, Beau. As long as that pump is running, you want to see this, guys. A steady, unchanging voltage. Okay, let off and back on again. Hit it again. All right, so you see, if you see the using a regular multimeter, let off and back on real quick. He just did that. And one more time. Let off, wait for a second. Okay, one back. You see it dropping, the voltage was dropping a little bit. Okay, it's good, Beau. It's gonna be tough to maybe pick out with a regular multimeter. You can see I'm seeing it on the min-max scales here. But if you guys run into this in the future and you're troubleshooting these, again, with the valve on, with water flowing, we should have a steady 12 here, and we did not. It was surging and pulsing, and that voltage was even dropping up here. But remember, up here, this is an average of your voltage signal. So if you get really fast spikes, you may not see it up here. You have a tool like this, we'll catch it on the min-max scales. Yeah, so on the back side of that panel says water pump access. So somebody had this off and bolted it back up backwards. So yeah, water pump access. A little helpful little sign right there. We have water, Beau. So we did a nice little field repair here, didn't we, Beau? I almost ordered a new pump for this RV and we didn't need one. It was just a connection problem. I think what I'll do off camera is I'll just try to tweak those terminals just a little bit more. Unplug and plug them back in a couple more times. But now we can take a shower. Yeah. And I have my mother-in-law with me, so it was important to make sure that we take care of our mother-in-law, right? Make sure she's comfortable and has her shower, and me too, I don't want to stink. So, Wolves at the Gate, 2 p.m. today. We are there, man. One of my favorite Christian metal bands. So,
gonna be there.
Yeah, man. Wolves at the Gate, here we come. And I'll be clean and not stinky. All right, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.